Okay, so today's a little different. I've started having a surplus of ideas coming up, things that I really want to talk about, and I keep writing them down, and they just keep adding up. So it's already written, so there's no video starts at this time. This video is just going to start right now. So yeah, drinking coffee again today, mostly because I bought cream. I need to use the cream because otherwise it's going to go bad. As it does. Hope nobody has any aversions to me eating while I talk. To my 5 viewers, do you mind if I eat when I talk? Please answer in the comments below. Okay, so to go on a bit of a continued tirade about R.E.P.O, I actually played some games with people who like to have fun. And it was really different. It was very different from what I'm used to. Because I played probably like close to 8 or 10 hours of that game and not having fun. And I know most people on Steam are like, I'll play for like 45 minutes and if I don't like it, I'll just refund it. Understandable. I also like having the games. Having that library is important. I'm a little proud of it, I would say. I have like 300 or 400 games or something, and it's like, now I just have something for anybody to do. If anybody comes over or if anybody wants to share my library, they'll just find something I like. Anyway, no, the thing is that I found people who actually like to play. Which I think was my main problem before, was that I was playing with people who just want to have like a task to do. Because they were like more interested in getting the task done and like doing a good job than they were actually having fun. Or maybe having fun was part of that for them. Like they had to complete it to feel like they were having fun. But I did notice a couple of things. With this new group of friends I'm playing with, they kind of play like I do. Like they're doing it as like more of like a fun thing. Like they're doing it to enjoy themselves. But what I mean by that is that they're trying to make jokes and they're trying to talk to each other and they're trying to ask each other questions and like socialize. Like it felt like it was more socializing.
Oh,
I might be the oldest, honestly.
that's false. Brady's the oldest.
You're not. Yeah, you're not the oldest. I think Brady is the oldest.
Wait, how old is Brady? Is Brady an old man? Is Brady an old man?
I can't release that information in good conscience.
Oh wait, are we turning in right now? Are we done?
I'm not yet. I think.
Okay.
We should check. We might be done, but let's double check.
Wait, I have a different question. How old isn't Brady?
How old
2?
isn't Brady? Alright, let's play lower or higher. Let's just play lower or higher. Is he 30?
Wait. Before I agree to the rules of this game, I will only answer 2
He's 31.
questions. Shut the fuck up.
No,
dude.
listen.
Good
I'm
enough.
gonna.
Good enough. Good enough.
Okay, that works. I was gonna say he's like 29 to 32.
Are you kidding me? I'm out of here. I'm just out of here.
Said the other day.
I'm so done.
Like the funny thing about this game is that it can feel really like it's kind of a spectrum of like how you can play it, because some people come into it and they're like, okay, I need to do the thing, and that's the people that are unfun to play with, but they get the task done, like they do it gets done. But then you've got the other people on the opposite side of the spectrum and they're like walking around and typing. They're talking to people. They're asking, we did this bit where we were like interviewing for a job. And so like one of us was the interviewer, and then like it was a group interview. So like we'd just be walking around doing stuff. And then one person said, like the interviewer would like ask a question and then everybody would give their take. But it was like perfect opportunity for jokes, because it was like, you could just pretend to be a robot, or you could just, it was very like improv based. Like it was very yes and.
Can I ask just ask you, Brady, can you tell me a time when you solved conflict extremely effectively, and what happened?
Are you doing a job interview? What's
yeah,
happening?
this literally reminds me of my interview for lead. this
Yeah.
is literally my interview like a month ago.
There was a guy that wanted to stab people at work, and I told him not to stab people, and it worked.
Oh shit.
How do you feel?
worked?
How do you feel that
What
you
do
grew
you
from
mean
that
it worked?
situation?
How do I feel? I want to blow people up with the grenades now.
Oh, so we went from stabbing to blowing people up. I mean, that's an improvement.
Yeah.
It worked in that he convinced you.
And then like, you know, some mechanics of the game kind of fed into it, because it's like, you know, you're walking around and like there's monsters everywhere. And so then like, you know, somebody would come up to a monster and like try and prove that they I don't know, are good at conflict resolution, and then the monster eats them or something. It's like, it's goofy, and like it's just fun. Like, it's just people messing around. Like, that was what was fun about it. It was like you're hanging out with friends. And yeah, like one of the main differences I noticed there was that like the people I think that are more fun to play with and like to enjoy themselves are unafraid of losing. Like, it's not a problem for them to like lose. They're allowed to just like do what they want, and that's fine. Like, they don't worry about success. They don't worry about making things work. They're just doing it. And that's awesome. I like that, because, you know, it's a very different game when you start playing with the mindset of like, oh, I don't have to do this. I don't have to make things work. And then all of a sudden everybody can just do what they want to. And then it's like, you've got this, you know, special little magical circle where you get to play the game and everybody gets to play how they want, and then everybody's having more fun. And I kind of like that, because it removes the exclusionary aspect of like, you have to do the job to make it work, you know? It makes me think of some roguelike games I like. If anybody knows this game, I don't know, it's not hugely popular right now. It had a surge a couple years ago, but it's not really in anymore. So there's a roguelike called Stone Soup Dungeon Crawl. I'll put up some photos. And it's basically like an old school rogue type, where, you know, you get in, you get a random character, random stats, random dungeon, and then you just go. And the whole point of it is that like, it's just a random roll every time. You'll never see the same dungeon twice. You'll never see the same equipment twice. You know, there's, you know, sometimes there's situations that you can't win. Sometimes, you know, it's like you'll find something that's really good early on, like, you know, and the whole point of the game, the whole focus of it is that you're kind of just dealing with every situation as it arises, using your knowledge as your, you know, your anchor. Like, the way that you get through that game is that you have to experience it so many times and in so many ways that you start to understand intuitively about how the game works. And so then it becomes more of a game about collecting knowledge about how it works to, you know, supersede the challenges. You can't just like walk in there and be like, oh, I got the good gun or the good weapon or whatever it is, and then like kill everything in one hit. Like, it's not like a power trip fantasy. It's like a, you know, it's more like puzzly, but it's a puzzle that you play over like a long time. And so what I really like about that is that it pushes this idea of like moving through failure and like letting go of success, and like seeing it less of as like a challenge to overcome and more of like a journey. Because there is a goal in the game. There is a goal in the game, and there's multiple. You can do multiple goals in the game. Like, there's one way to like win the game, but then there's like extra things you can do to like win more technically. But you don't have to do that. Like, you can even just exit the dungeon if you want. Like, if you want, you can start playing it like a role-playing style and be like, oh, I'm just gonna go do this and then exit the dungeon. Like, you can play it however you want to. And I guess kind of one of the nice things is that it's a single player game. Like, there's no other people, so like you don't feel like you got to get judged by someone by playing it a certain way. You don't have to share your experience. And like, side note, I think I really like that about single player games. I remember being like a kid or like a teenager and just like being so frustrated because other people would tell me how to do things or like how to play a game or how to do stuff. Don't want to diagnose myself, but that's maybe ODD a little bit, you know, just like not doing what other people tell you to, or like feeling like you shouldn't, or, you know, but like it was really frustrating. And so like I found a lot of solace in games where I was just playing by myself, because all of a sudden I realized I could just experiment and I could play how I want to and I could try things and I can do stuff that's not what other people think is the right way, and I can have freedom to do that. Because, like, you know, another one of the points that really frustrates me is, like, you know, you play like a competitive game, let's say like League of Legends. This is a great example for this. You know, you're playing this game with sometimes millions of other people. Like, there's a lot of people playing these games, and you know, there's so much gameplay going on, and there's so much data being collected, and there's so much analyzing being completed, that there start to emerge the patterns of like what's good and what's not good. And so then you get this concept of like the meta game, where it's like, if you're playing this type of character, you have to buy these types of items to do this type of thing, so that you can ensure a favorable outcome for your team, so that you can win the game. And so then you get this like strange situation where the player base all understand that there's a certain character or a certain item or a certain situation that's like, you know, like almost unintuitive, I don't know, like to win a game, and you absolutely necessarily need it to do the right thing to win the game. And so then it becomes just a set of tasks to complete, you know? Like, you know, back in, I don't know, like season 1 or 2, maybe season 3, in League of Legends, like Heart of Gold, it's just like, it's like a health item. It just gives you health, and then you get gold passively over time. And like every single person bought that item because guess what? Free gold and health. So like literally every game had Heart of Gold in it, and then it built into something else. And then, you know, when Riot realized that everybody was doing this because it was like a freaking broken strategy, they just removed the item. And then it's like, nobody gets to play now. You know, nobody gets to do that. And it's like, okay. Like, it's so funny to me because it's like, people do the boring thing because it wins. And then the game developers change the game so that you can't do that. It's like they've shot themselves in the foot. Like, they're like, oh, we're going to implement this thing that'll be interesting and fun. And then they realize that the players don't want interesting and fun. They want to win. And then they make the game more boring. Like, they literally remove content to make it more, I don't know, I'm frustrated. Anyway. Yeah, it's super weird. Honestly, it's strange because it's like you don't get this opportunity to like try what you want to, because, you know, in a competitive game, if you try something new and interesting or something that's not common or something that nobody is really sure about, people flame you. You know, people make fun of you or like, you know, tear you apart because they're like, clearly you don't know what's going on, Dumbo. But like, people just trying to have fun. Anyway, long story short, it's more fun to play games with people who just want to mess around and just want to play. People who want to win, that's their thing. They can do that. I get that. Do your thing. If you like winning, try hardest. But I also think that's why we have uncompetitive queues for multiplayer games, and why we have competitive games. Like, there's a ranked and there's an unranked. And I think that's for that situation where you want people who want to be serious and people who want to mess around. Another thing, I'm going to talk about TikTok again, this time for a different reason. Which, by the way, I was on TikTok the other day, and just to talk about the last video I did about the guy who was like freaking out about this indie game. He's having such an amazing time with this indie game, and then creating like commodified content so that people would check it out. I checked out his channel, and it's just the whole, like, literally you scroll through his content and it's the same video every time. It's him looking at a screen from the side profile. He's like clapping, he's like cheering, and the text is like, when you play an indie game that changes your life, when you watch a movie that changes your life, when you have a conversation with somebody, it changes your life. And it's like, it's gross, it's disgusting, it is the commodification of the spectacle. Like, he's selling himself in such a, like, it's insidious. Actually, it's kind of gross. Like, we talked about peacocking before, how he was like maybe getting attention, right? And like, maybe this is how he gets attention. Like maybe this is what he likes to do. This is what he likes to do to get people's attention and to feel good about that. Yeah, but I'm like, damn, like it's so formulaic. It's like he's just like does it even feel good anymore? Like if he gets a comment on one of those videos, how does he know which video it is? Like he's made so many of the same thing. Like it's literally like mass production of media content. Like it's like, you know, like in the industrial age, when we were like doing the revolution and like finding out how to make factories and like building a lot of things and, you know, going crazy about that, we came up with like mass-produced prints and mass-produced furniture and mass-produced, I don't know, like kitchen appliances. Like, you know, we were all of a sudden we were just getting like really crazy about making the exact same thing a million times and then selling it for cheap, because that was what was good to do. Like that was the profitable way of being. You know, if you had some money, if you were a capitalist, you had some money, some startup, you buy a factory, and then you pay some workers, and then they'd make a billion things, and you sell them, and you make a lot of freaking money, you know? So now we're seeing that on like kind of like a digital scale. You know, people just like, oh, I can become my own media factory, and I can just make the same idea and sell it over and over, and it can get me 1 million views, and then I'll make money off that. And it's like, you know, it's actually reminding me of the idea of aura. I believe, I can't remember the artist or the author, but it's something mechanical means of reproduction. I'll put it up. Talking about photography as a you know, technological advancement, and how it really sent a shockwave through the art community, because all of a sudden, you know, photographers could take a photo of something and it would be like a lifelike replica of that thing. And then all of a sudden artists are just like super threatened, because like their skills are now being directly threatened by a single machine that's like not terribly expensive, but kind of expensive. And like all of a sudden, like your livelihood is in check because there's a thing that can replicate exactly what you do in a literal second. And so then there's like the idea of like, so if you have the painting of the Mona Lisa, right? I use the Mona Lisa as an example. I know it's not a great example. In the art world, like it's literally just like, it's kind of appalling. I'm using an example. You have a painting of the Mona Lisa, and then you have a photo of the Mona Lisa, and they look identical. And then you can just like take the photo and then just like ship it anywhere, and just like anyone can have a picture of the Mona Lisa. So then all of a sudden, the like tangible experience of seeing the Mona Lisa is now much more available to everyone. So it kind of like decreases the value of the experience of seeing it, because you can see it replicated anywhere else. So this author talks about aura, and how when you create art, when you put your time into it, when you give it an experience, when you give it a voice and it becomes a real thing, all of a sudden it has an aura. And so that's what we believe gives it its like power or its energy, or like what defines it as an experience. And so the thing is that if you find a way to replicate it, all of a sudden it has clones. All of a sudden it doesn't have its own unique experience in one place in the world. And then you've got basically like it's losing its aura. So it's like the experience of it is now like diluted, because there's so many replicas of it. And so then it becomes like a different thing. Then it becomes like a, you know, like a mass product. So then like, you know, you go into like, you know, the idea of like reproduction of art as an art. So we're thinking like, forget this artist's name. He does the soup cans and the Marilyn Monroe. I'll put him up. You know, using art itself as like using the reproduction of art as an art to like parody the art in a way. There's a French term for this. I think it's called détournement. And this is like when you take like an idea or a concept in life, and you take like the theme or like the style of it, and you like switch it into something else. And so a lot of examples of this are like, you know, taking like a branding logo or like a branding like name or something, and like using the same font or like using the same style of it, switching into something else, and like all of a sudden you realize that your brain is seeing the first thing, but it says something completely different. It's like there's so many examples. I remember like there's like the Subway one where it's like zombie eat flesh, you know, it's like Subway eat fresh, right? So, you know, all of a sudden it's like it kind of becomes a different thing entirely when it's reproducible, because you're like seeing this, I don't know, you're seeing the copy as the original, but it's a different content. So like your brain is, you know, the human brain is seeing the first thing that it learned and identifying it as that. And then like maybe you need that like snapshot half second to like identify that it's actually not that. And so I wonder if that's like an aura in some ways, that you're like, you know, you'll have an idea of something and it's like ingrained in your head, and then you're, you know, even when it's challenged, even when the idea is different, you're still seeing the first thing. I don't know. Hard topic. I don't even know how I got here. I was on a tangent. Okay, so I've already been talking for 20 minutes. Yeah, so I saw this other TikTok. And it was a woman, and she was describing how, like, it was one of those, like, you know, this TikTok finds you when it needs to kind of thing. No hashtags, no description, whatever. And it finds you, and it's like this woman, and she's like kind of like a faith or like a spirit healer, you know, kind of occulty. And she's like, babes, at some point you need to realize that healing comes from the application of what you've learned, and that you need to actually go out and do things, and you need to like take what you've done, take what you've internalized as knowledge, and then to apply it to something, and that's how you will get through it. Because you're not gonna like completely understand everything just by reading about it or by seeing about it or watching a freaking TikTok about it. And so that kind of got me thinking about how, like, in my life even, like, there's like certain moments where I've had to like step back from trying to learn about things and trying to study things, and then trying to like take what I've learned and like, apply it into something. And I kind of I feel like that's a lesson that's happening right at this moment in my relationships, because I feel like I'm somebody who's like, I've routinely withdrawn from relationships so that I could learn about them, and so that I could like figure out what actually they mean and what they do for me, and also like what I do for them. And it is really easy to get stuck in a, you know, I am learning, I am trying to figure out what this means, I am, you know, absorbing knowledge, I'm taking in knowledge by osmosis from whatever means I've chosen, you know, reading, you know, I take books, you know, I watch like TikToks, you know, I search for this knowledge, I search from other people's experiences. And so then you get like kind of wrapped up in this idea of like you're just passively absorbing knowledge, and so then you get like this flow of knowledge, just like a river flowing into you of all these different things about this certain topic, or about this certain type of relationship, or about this experience, and you just get kind of paralyzed because there's just so much information flowing at you. Like this happened to me when I was learning about like neurodivergence and like autism, you know. It just like showed up on my feed, and it was like, wow, that made so much sense. And so then I started like watching more of it, and then I would be like interacting with it, and then the algorithm would show me more. So then I'd be seeing a lot of content about, this is how you know, or like, here's how you test, or like, when you're like this, you do this. And it's like, you start getting literally just like bombarded with all this knowledge. And like, you know, it's lived people's experiences. So it's not like it's, you know, useless. It's quite useful, actually. Having other people's experiences is very useful. The thing is that you'll get stuck in it. Like, the thing is that you can get easily stuck in this loop of, I am learning about this thing. And then you just like continue to learn about it again and again and again and again. And like, you never quite feel like you're ready to apply what you've learned. You just kind of you just shy away from most things. And you think in your head, I understand why this is like this. I know why this is going on. But you don't do anything about it. And so there's a case to be made here that you're entering into a freeze state. That your body has identified that there's something to learn here in a situation. And then you're bombarded with so many ideas at once because your brain is still trying to process all of those ideas at the same time. And then you're identifying it and you're like, I have to pay attention because this thing is happening and I know about it. And then you get paralyzed. And then you don't do anything. And then the cycle repeats itself because you're like, I learned about this thing. And then you like, go spend time by yourself and you're alone and you're like, I learned about this thing. I went and I did it and I learned about how to do what I needed to do. But like you didn't actually do anything. So like you didn't technically really learn anything. You just saw what you had saw before on TikTok or in a book, whatever, and just let it happen and you didn't do anything about it. The thing is like I don't know, you can get stuck in a completely, what seems to be healthy and almost like, it seems like it's nothing but beneficial to be learning about all these things all the time. But the thing is that you're not actually learning anything until you do something. There's this idea of praxis whereby when you learn something, you gotta like learn the theory of it, and then you gotta learn how to apply it. And then when you learn both of those things, you do them together, and then it synthesizes into a new type of knowledge that you have to, you don't need to think about it to do it. Like, it's like it all of a sudden becomes more ingrained in how you live. And so then you're like, you actually have a knowledge base of something. Like you can't, it's not that you just like, it's not that you just learned about it. Like you're not just able to talk about it. Like you're able to move through it. You know what I mean? Like this would be the difference between somebody who like, understands intuitively what to do in an emergency situation, and they just go and do it, and they like take care of the person or like do the thing or contact who they need to, and somebody who sees it happen and is like stuck because they don't know what to do. Like it would be, the way I see it, it's like your body and your mind have now integrated that thing in tandem, and now they're both working together. They both have an understanding of how to do that thing. But the thing is that you're not going to reach that unless you actually do that thing. Long story short, you can be as smart as you want to about anything in the world. You can talk about anything in the world. But the thing is like if you're in a situation and you don't know how to handle it, you don't actually know what you're doing. Some coffee. I have another topic. Been having an experience recently, a refreshing experience, with somebody that I met, and it's kind of opening my eyes to a couple of things. Mostly I think it's that I've met somebody who makes me think about peace. Because I feel like for the last while I've been thinking a lot about fighting and like how I can fight things and how I can resist things and how I can, be like how I can oppose the things that bother me, or I can oppose the things that are challenging me. But recently I met somebody who their worldview is really antithetical to that. And it kind of, it is like influencing me. It's shaping me in a way. I can just see it in the way that I write and like what I'm thinking about and what emotions I'm feeling and like how they're coming through me. It's interesting because I'm seeing it in the way I think, but also in the way that I act. because I actually kind of felt recently, I box. So the thing is, I've been a boxer for a while, not like professional or anything. I don't compete. I just do it for recreation. But and that was normally my way of being. Like I would normally box as like a, that was kind of my release. When I started boxing, I think it was because I had something inside me was compressed and I needed to like let it out, and that was a really effective way to do it because you had a bunch of people who are, willing and able to participate in, a physical expression. And martial arts is a great way to do that with people because you get to like let all that energy out and everybody's okay with it. So that's why I started doing that. Recently I haven't really been feeling that as much. I don't know, it maybe this is just the part of my life where I'm seeing rest. Maybe I'm seeing rest differently, or like maybe I'm seeing it as less of like I need to let something out and more of like I need to let other things in, like I'm questioning if like maybe what's inside me that wants to get out maybe wants something else. Like instead of discharging the energy that it has, maybe it wants something else on the inside. So yeah, I've been working on that. I've kind of fallen off of my train of going boxing, and I've also kind of felt like I'm more like restful in general. Like my house is all of a sudden becoming like a really peaceful place to be, which isn't really a normal thing, I'm afraid to admit. Normally my place has been like kind of a place where I'll like hang out, and like that's kind of just how it is. I'll hang out and maybe invite friends over and like we'll have fun and do stuff. But like when I'm alone, when it's just me and Goblin, I always try to stay busy. Like I always try to do something, and it doesn't really feel as restful when you're just trying to do stuff all the time. But things are kind of changing right now. I've been inviting this person to my place, and it's kind of making me realize that this place is supposed to be a place where I rest, and I haven't really felt that for a while. Like I haven't had a place where I could feel like relaxed. For a bit of history, in my 20s I did a lot of traveling, and I didn't really stay in the same spot for a long time. I was always like doing exchanges or going to different parts of the country to work, or seeing other things, and like it's just been kind of normal for me. Like my home has always been like where I was, like with me. And I did have a couple of experiences where I felt like I was building a home, but like it didn't really feel like right. It didn't feel like I was actually building a home. It felt like I was just like making things comfortable. I don't know. I have a friend that I've known for a long time, and she's married to one of my closest friends. And she talks about nesting and how like when you get like into a really comfortable state, usually when you find somebody that is really good for you, you'll get into this state where you're like building something that feels a little bit more homey. And it's so funny because every time I tell her about it, she's like, "Oh my God, you're nesting. Oh my God." She's like Mama Goose, she's like happy about it. And so, yeah, this is, it's kind of a big change for me because I'm like, I don't know. It's been probably like 5 years since I've had something that felt like a home. And I'm thinking about how like everything seems to be lining up this way. Kind of like how like everything felt contingent, like it was going to line up this way. That's another big theme in my life. Sometimes I do feel like I'm living on a timeline and like things are happening in succession because they have to happen that way. And yeah, it's kind of fun to see it line up, to see like how certain things happen because other things necessarily happen. And so, you kind of have this like, it's like this experience where, you spend so long thinking like, damn, I guess things don't work out. I guess things don't work out. And so then you like build this part of you this like little identity inside yourself, and he gets really calloused, and he's like really rough, and he's like able to take a lot. And that's like part of who he is like someone who says that things aren't going to work out, and he gets used to it, and things aren't bad then, because, you know, he just knows it and he can just move forward with that. But then, like, you know, every once in a while you have an experience that shows you that things work out in a different way, in a way you weren't expecting, or that the way that you were thinking about things was like maybe not serving you, or like maybe the situations you were in just weren't right for you. And so then you kind of have to zoom out a little bit and then like realize that you were maybe only thinking in those ways because you were in that area, like, you know what I mean? Like the whole set of experiences, of all the experiences, was like this, but like what you were having was like right here. And then like you met somebody and it just like poked the bubble, and it like, and so then it wasn't what you thought it was, you know, like you weren't stuck like you thought, you know, you just thought you were. The circumstances made you think that you were stuck. And so, you know, it just shows you that experience is the ultimate teacher. Like, experience is what's going to show you. You can read any book in the world. You can read anything at all. You can read until your head hurts. You can read until your head is exploding. But you're never going to really get it until you have the experience. I saw another TikTok. Welcome to my channel. I talk about TikTok. I saw this other TikTok, and it was talking about gratitude and how, like, if you want something to stay in your life, then you need to learn how to show gratitude towards it. And so I think right now I'm having the experience of learning about gratitude. I think that I've been reading about gratitude for long enough, and now I'm having the experience where it's time for me to express it and to learn about it like that. And so I can feel myself doing that every day. And I can feel myself thinking about things that I actually really appreciate, and thinking about how I can show that I appreciate those things. And sometimes it's just saying it, and sometimes it's just writing it down, but other times it's actually doing something for somebody that is important to you. That's what I've been thinking about recently.